Well, hey folks, this is the Movie NP back for another thrilling and exciting movie review that leads to life hacks to improve your life. I know I was away for a while. I was finishing a little thing called a doctorate program. Took most of my time, but that is finished now. I'm going to get back to some movie reviews for you. Today's movie review is going to be Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie. Of course, this is the big screen adaptation of Gabby's Dollhouse, the television series. The film was released in October 2025. It carries an IMDb rating of 5.8 out of 10, Rotten Tomatoes of 82%, and I lean towards the Rotten Tomatoes review, and you'll see why. Also, it's produced by DreamWorks Studio and Candlelight Studios. It is, of course, rated G. So the plot of the film is basically Conjuring the Last Rite coupled with Toy Story, and you'll kind of get where I'm going with that. Unfortunately, you're going to hear the word magic very often through this review, and I don't really know a way around that, so bear with me there. And yeah, so it stars Lelia Lockhart Craner as Gabby, Gloria Stefan as Grandma Gigi, and Kristen Wiig as the crazy cat lady Vera. So for those of you who don't know what Gabby's Dollhouse is about, it was released in 2021 by the creators of Blue's Clues. Their names are Tracy Page Johnson and Jennifer Toomey. It is a combination of live action and animation. It stars Gabby, who has this magical dollhouse, and using a magical cat headband and a catchy magical spell, a pinch on the left, pinch on the right, grab Patty's hand and hold on tight, magically transports her through a wormhole into the dollhouse, where she shrinks down to the size of the toys in the dollhouse and turns into an animated character. And her toys, which are collectively known as the Gabby Cats, go on a bunch of adventures together. So the film follows the same format. So spoiler alert here, we're going to go into the plot. So the film starts with a flashback of Gabby as a little girl, and her grandmother calls her in to give her a gift. Grandma is apparently a big crafter and built her a dollhouse that is shaped like a cat. And she gives her this magic headband and teaches her the magic spell and shows her how to teleport into the dollhouse and begin playing with her toys. Then we jump to the modern day with Gabby in her current age, and Gabby tells you that she's going on a cross-country trip to see her grandmother in Cat Francisco. Everything in this universe is cat-centric. My dogs did not appreciate that, but they'll get over it. It starts out with Grandma Gigi showing up, pick up Gabby. For whatever reason, Gabby decides to strap her dollhouse to a big skateboard, and then they load that up onto a utility trailer, and they drag that across country to Cat Francisco with a montage showing their trip, the adventures on their trip. They get to Cat Francisco, they pull up front, they go inside. Apparently, Cat Rat, who is the perpetual troublemaker of the group, cannot wait for anybody to unload the dollhouse, so he begins to fiddle with the tie-down straps. The tie-down straps, of course, loosen, and the dollhouse breaks free and begins rolling aimlessly down the streets of Cat Francisco. Gabby recognizes it, runs out of the house and down the street, but of course she can't keep up. So eventually what occurs is the dollhouse rolls to a rolling stop into the middle of, you guessed it, a garage sale. Quickly, the dollhouse is spotted by, in this universe, Kitty Rangers, which is our equivalent of the Girl Scouts. who wants the dollhouse and asks her mother to buy it so she can take it home to play with. As this occurs, you see a white Bentley come to a screeching halt, and an older woman peering out and seeing the dollhouse, and this happens to be Vera, the crazy cat lady. She sees it and immediately jumps out of the car, runs over. They have an argument with the kitty ranger and her. The kitty ranger says she's taking it home to play with. Vera sees it as a collectible and is taking it home to put on display. So Vera slaps down a stack of money, essentially buying it from underneath its girl, and then transports it home. Once getting home, she promptly puts it on display, and when she opens it, she finds the Gabby cat action figures inside, but decides they'd be better off, or they'd look better in other parts of her home. So she takes Mercat and she puts her in her aquarium, and Kitty Fairy she takes out and puts in her garden. Cat Rat she discards into a storage drawer in her desk. But what Vera doesn't know is the magic of these characters begin to infect her home and spread their magic through the environment. We see Cat Rat, who quickly meets a couple cat-shaped eraser heads and a plushy stuffed cat that later we learn his name is Chumley. Unable to find the dollhouse, Gabby finally realizes that I could just use my magic headband to teleport into the dollhouse. Why do I need to find it? So she tries the magic spell and doesn't work. She claims that it's too far away. She's never tried the magic that's far away. So of course, what does she need? The help of the audience. So Gabby looks at the audience and asks us all to chant with her. Pinch on the left, pinch, pinch on the right. Grab Patty's hand and hold on tight. And of course, with all of us in the audience doing that, Gabby magically is transported to the dollhouse and arrives to find the chaos that's going on. When Gabby arrives, she finds that Cat Rat has brought Chumley and the eraser heads to the dollhouse, and everybody's playing and having a great time. Gabby wants to know what's going on and finds out that Vera has taken and distributed the other Gabby cats. So then she ventures out to find them. She, of course, finds Mercat first in the aquarium and notices how that environment has been infected by her magic. Everything has become vibrant and colorful and animated, as before it was just kind of blah and dead. Somehow they end up out in the garden and they are met by some garden gnomes who eventually take her to their queen. The queen, of course, ends up being Fairy Kitty. Fairy Kitty's magic has infected that environment and brought the garden gnomes alive as well. So now that they're all paired up and back together, Gabby needs to make it back to the dollhouse. So when Gabby gets back to the dollhouse, she sees that the play has kind of gotten out of hand. Chumley is going full force with the play, and so Gabby kind of protests and basically indicates that she wants the dollhouse back, and Chumley revolts. We quickly find out that Chumley was once Vera's favorite toy, and she loved him very much, and they played together all the time. But eventually Vera grew up and became an adult and stopped playing with him, and then discarded him into a storage drawer and forgot all about him. So he's bitter about this, and then he claims that Gabby is just like her, or becoming just like her, and Gabby's going to be losing the magic. And so what he does is exiles Gabby from the dollhouse, stealing her magic headband, and we think all is lost. This, of course, begins to put doubt in Gabby's mind and festers in there, leading her to believe maybe she is getting too old to play with the dollhouse, and maybe she is losing the magic. The other Gabby cats recognize that she's in crisis and this is not going well, so they decide they have to go get help. So through the magic of their car, they make it to Grandma Gigi's, explain to her what's going on, and then they get Grandma Gigi to come back with them. So Grandma Gigi realizes that the only way to stop all this and to save the day is to get Vera to admit to Chumley that she loves him and that she wants to play with him again. So Gabby decides that she has to be the one to convince Vera to do that. So Gabby magically transforms back into a human, live action human, where she meets with Vera, and Vera thinks that she's going crazy. Gabby quickly explains what's really going on, and of course, Vera does not want to believe her. Somehow, Gabby convinces her to chant the magic spell with her, which of course transports them both to the dollhouse. Once Vera and Gabby are back to the dollhouse, of course they can try to convince Chumley that Vera's going to play with him again and everything's going to be fine, but Chumley doesn't believe them, and through Chumley's overuse of play and magic, he's created this magical rainbow tornado in the middle of the kitchen, and he decides to jump in it. He, of course, disappears, and Gabby and Vera follow. What transpires at this point is that Gabby and Vera are transported to kind of a sub-universe where it's a winter wonderland, but we quickly find out that the snow is not snow. It is, in fact, buttercream icing. So they decide they're going to hunt down Chumley, and through a small adventure there, they do find Chumley. Meanwhile, this chain of events has triggered a drainage of the magic from the environment, and the imaginary worlds begin to crumble. This is indicated by not only a lot of it turning black and white, but physically actually disintegrating, which leads us up to Chumley on a bridge, and the world's disintegrating around them, and Vera's trying to convince him that she loves him and that she wants to play with him. He doesn't want to believe her. He tries to get away again, but then, of course, almost slips and falls into the abyss of nothingness. This is very reminiscent to me to the Never-Ending Story, actually. But, and anyway, so last minute, when all hope you think is lost, Vera rescues Chumley, and of course this awakens Chumley to the realization that Vera really does love me, and that what she says about wanting to play with me is true. At this point, they are magically transported back to the dollhouse, where all is right in the world. The dollhouse magically transports back to Grandma Gigi's, and then upon arriving back at Grandma Gigi's, we have a scene where Gabby is invited into Gigi's craft room, where she has a surprise for her, where she reveals that she has built a dollhouse for her younger sister, which happens to be dog themed. So we're most likely going to see either a spin-off or a reboot of the show, where now we have a younger girl with a dollhouse again, and probably Gabby's going to go off to college or some BS there. So what kind of life hacks to improve your life can we pull from Gabby's dollhouse? Well, surprisingly, there's quite a few. First and foremost, number one is ask for help. We're very poor at doing this. Especially American culture, we believe we're supposed to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We're not supposed to ask for help. We're supposed to do everything on our own. However, the reality is nobody does anything alone. And if you look at the majority of the successful people in the world, they've all done so by the help of others through networking, family connections, etc., etc., etc. So ask for help. There's also an interesting psychological phenomenon here that you can use to your advantage. I'm sure you know the saying, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Well, if you find or you feel that there's someone that does not like you, ask them for help. There's a psychological issue that you would not want to give somebody you dislike help. However, you want to help people. I think it's human nature that we want to help each other. So this causes a paradox in the person's mind, which then instantly increases their opinion of you. And let me leave you with this thought on asking for help. Mr. Rogers stated that he did not feel that asking for help was a sign of weakness, but a sign of wisdom. And he's quoted by saying, all of us at some time or other need help. Whether we're giving or receiving help, each one of us has something valuable to bring to the world. And I believe that to be true. The next step, or life hack number 2, is to break large tasks down into smaller tasks. Oftentimes, we can get very easily overwhelmed with large tasks. But if we break it down into step by step, it is much easier to handle. And a matter of fact, by doing so, we kind of hijack the body's reward mechanism, because it is very satisfying to check off steps on a list. And actually, there's a book out that was written by, I believe she's a therapist. Her name is Casey Davis, and her book is How to Keep House While Drowning. What's phenomenal about this book, and she brought some thought to my practice as well, is I'm often having people come to me and telling me I don't have any motivation, what can I do? And I'm always looking for medications that might be able to help them with that. However, her point of view is that it's not a motivation issue. It is a task initiation issue. And what happens is we get overwhelmed, depression, anxiety makes things worse. And then what do? We sit there and just go, or we doom scroll all day long, or lay in bed, or whatever the case is. So she suggests, even for small tasks that most of us would think are easy, some people with depression and anxiety can become overwhelmed very easy. So she just suggests even these basic things can be broken down into smaller pieces. And by doing so, it actually helps the person cope and get through the task. So great example of this would be loading or unloading the dishwasher. So for you and I, probably, what do we think? Rinse dish and put it in the machine. Boom, we're done. But for someone in its almost catatonic state of depression and anxiety, if you break it down into smaller tasks for them, as minute as open the dishwasher, check. Turn the water on, check. Rinse the bowls, or rinse each bowl, check. Rinse each dish, check. Place each bowl in dishwasher, check. Place each plate in dishwasher, check. Etc., etc., etc. And this is very helpful for these individuals. But we can use the same thing, you and I, who are luckily not suffering from these issues, we can use the same thing in our everyday lives for other tasks. And again, it does hijack their reward system, the dopamine release system in the brain, and it's very satisfying to check off that list, which gives us the momentum to the next thing, to the next thing. And then, boom, magically the thing is done, and it seems like it didn't take as long as you initially thought. The next step, or life hack, this kind of ties into number one, asking for help, but in a more bigger sense, teamwork. As the saying goes, teamwork makes the dream work. And I know teamwork is hard, but the reality is if you have a great team, it actually works. The reason why it works is that you build on each other's strength. So I might not be great at one task, but Joe might be better at that task, or Cindy might be better at that task. So you can tap into each individual's unique talents. And this is what Gabby does with the Gabby cats. Each one of them kind of have a unique talent that she uses to help her along the way. So when you have a project to start, it's great to start with a planning stage of kind of brainstorming, where you get the group together and you find out who wants to do what, whose skills are best utilized in what manner, and put that plan together and move forward. This is one of the reasons why I loved Star Trek and the leadership of Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk realized that he didn't know it all. So what did he do? He relied on Mr. Spock, he relied on Scotty, he relied on Dr. McCoy. And I know this is a very simplest approach, but what I love about Captain Kirk is he really did embody the servant leadership mentality. And Kirk would not ask a crew member to do anything that he would not do. As a matter of fact, Kirk was usually one of the first ones down on the planet or the away team. Now, of course, that makes for good TV, but it also makes for good leadership, that we should not be expecting our people to do anything more than what we are willing to do. The next life hack here is to fix things quickly and do not resent or hold grudges. Vera in the film learns to reconnect and make amends. And all resentment does is fester and cause more stress for you, which leads to more problems, more anxiety, more cortisol being released, more weight gain, less sugar control, yada, 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 yada. So the goal here is to quickly make amends, apologize, particularly in personal relationships, and quickly move on. Nelson Mandela said that resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemy. So, in other words, don't do it. The next life hack here is using color to improve your mood. This is something that's been known for quite some time. A matter of fact, if you're around my age, you remember the hallways and walls of institutions being painted a particular color, schools, hospitals, because there was a belief that these particular colors were calming, relaxing, and for the most part that's true, although I think in those environments they can also become connected with trauma. But the intent there was to create a calming environment, not some sterile thing that it actually kind of became. But we can hijack this concept for our own use. And we see this in the film. We see where the toys begin to infect the area with their magic and everything becomes more vibrant and colorful. And when the magic begins to die, we see a lot of the stuff begin to turn black and white, draining the color out of it. So I recommend looking up some colors. Many of them, pink typically indicates love. Red can typically actually can be angersome. Blue tends to be calming, green tends to be calming. There's a lot of different colors, and I'm sure you have your favorite one as well that you can utilize. So keep your space colorful, and through doing that, it will boost your mood, boost your productivity, and keep you happy. This plugs into the next life hack, is to create a cozy spot for yourself. We all need a spot to retreat to, particularly when we're not feeling well or we're emotionally stressed. Gabby particularly does it in the film with the Dollhouse. She returns there for comfort and creativity, and we need to learn to do the same. Carve out a niche in the home, whatever works for you. If it's a bunch of pillows, lively colors, whatever works for you. But the point is do it. The next life hack is viewing imperfection as perfection, getting comfortable with imperfection. We all want to be perfect, but we can't be perfect, right? So why do it? It's also plugs into Casey David's work, where she suggests that basically even a half-assed job is better than not doing it at all. And so I actually encourage all of you to look at her website. If you Google her, you'll find her. She's got some training material out there. Her book is great. But we need to set aside this idea of perfect. It is better to try and do it the best you can than to become paralyzed with wanting perfection. And our last life hack is, do not forget the magic. Stay curious, remain young, young at heart. And actually, there's some data now that suggests that remaining curious is a protective factor against dementia and cognitive decline in old age. Because if we're curious about something, we're always learning. Maybe, even at an older age, we can learn to do something, maybe play a new instrument, take a class, etc., etc. Now, I know what you're going to say. We don't have time to do this. And that's exactly what Vera said in the film. I'm an adult. I don't have time to play. But really, it's through play that we find creativity. And if you have kids, that's a great way to connect with your kids as well. Nikola Tesla indicated that he would often imagine his inventions, and he was so good at doing this that he could basically run, basically test the item in his mind before he actually built it in the real world. Another quote here that I love is from Einstein, which says that imagination is more important than knowledge. And that's true. Einstein did a very similar thing to Nikola Tesla, but I think Einstein called them like mind experiments or something like that, where basically he would just daydream and imagine things, and through that he would figure out concepts. Another idea here is setting an intention to problem solve before going to bed, because oftentimes the brain will continue to work on that problem while you're sleeping. And there's countless stories of people that have come to wonderful discoveries or conclusions or solutions for things that they claim came to them in a dream or while they were sleeping. But getting back to the finding time to play, it's crucial that we carve that time out for ourselves. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about some time management skills and how you can do that. So, time management skills. How do we find the time to play? Well, there's another YouTuber out there. His name is Ali Abdaal. It's spelled AliAbdaal. I really encourage you to Google him or go to YouTube and look him up. He does phenomenal videos on book reviews. He will review some self-help books, some business books. Mostly it's built around kind of business techniques and success. But he really is phenomenal. So I really have to give him credit for what we're going to discuss now. So how do we make time management work for us? Well, step number one, as per Ali, is that we have to recognize early on that we are in control of our time. We can make the choice of what we want to spend time on and what we don't. And we really have to learn to be able to identify what is a priority and what is not. Step number two is what he calls Hell No or Yes, and he indicates there's a book that's titled that, Hell No or Yes by Derek Sivers. So the idea here is that when something comes up, maybe a friend asks you to go to a concert, if your brain does not automatically go, hell yeah, I want to do that, then the answer is by default no. This technique really minimizes the stuff that you don't really want to do, and actually teaches you to be able to say no and become comfortable with saying no. I think a lot of people struggle with saying no, but it actually becomes very freeing and life-changing to become comfortable with saying no. So step number three in time management is another book that Ali suggests, and the principle from that book. The book is titled Make Time by Jack Knapp and John Zeratsky. So the concept here is that we find that one highlight of the day. What is our highlight of the day? What is the one thing that you want to get done? And you block that time off and you make sure that every day that one thing gets done. Not only does that ensure that the most important thing that you want to do gets done for the day, but it also is very satisfying because you actually got that thing done and you've stopped procrastinating, or you didn't allow yourself to get tied up with a bunch of nonsense, and you actually are making progress on that to-do list, which dovetails into the next time management skill is to-do lists. So this kind of ties back into Casey Davis's work, where we want to make lists and check those things off as we go. And as minute as you have to break that down, you do it. Again, it hijacks the reward centers in the brain. Each one of those checks becomes very satisfactory. And, I know I did that for my doctorate program. I bought a planner, a daily planner that broke the day down by hour, 15-minute increments, and I wrote everything out that needed to be done, and then I would check it off, and it not only helped me stay organized, but it kept me on track. It helped reduce the procrastination, and without it, I can guarantee you, I would not be sitting here right now with my doctorate. Time management skill number 5 is time blocking. Again, what I like about Ali's time management skills here or time management techniques is that they all dovetail into each other and they build upon each other and they flow perfectly together. So time blocking is a very kind of overzealous way of saying, pick up a planner that goes in 15-minute increments of the day and block off the time for the things that you need to do, and particularly block off that time for play, creativity, for self-care, and make sure that that is at least on the top 5 of your priority list. if not your highlight of the day. So again, this dovetails in. Your highlight of the day is obviously going to be one of those blocks on your time blocking. And again, a very great technique to reduce procrastination and to stay on track and get things done. Time management skill number 6 is what he calls the Parkinson's law. And what this law states is that work expands for the time that you give it. So for example, let's say I want to get something done for the day. If I give myself all day to get it done, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to screw around, procrastinate, doom surf, or doom scroll. It's going to be endless. But if I time block that and give myself a finite time, give myself a deadline, even if it's an artificial deadline that I've just created, it helps you, again, to get things accomplished. And Walt Disney was famous for saying this. Walt Disney said, everyone needs deadlines, because otherwise we go off into procrastination land and we don't get things done. So if need be, artificially create these deadlines for yourself. Time management skill number 7 is protected time. This actually might be your highlight of the day. And again, it involves the time blocking. So you want to make sure that there's time on that schedule, on your daily schedule, for self-care, for that time, that creativity, for the kids, whatever it is. But that has to be a protected time for you to just chill, do your thing, whatever it is. But that has to be one of the top 5 priorities on your list of things to do. So the next time management skill is called delegation. This taps into an economic principle called opportunity cost. The idea here is, do not do a task that it's not worth you to do. So in other words, let's say you make $20 an hour and there's a task or a job that you know you could pay someone else, say $15 an hour. Then you're really shorting yourself $5 an hour by doing it yourself. You're better off, in the bigger scheme of things, to hire somebody to do that. So a great example here would be maybe like cleaning the house or housekeeping. Maybe you can find a housekeeper for $15 an hour and you don't have to do that anymore. And of course, that frees up your time to do the things that you really want to do, get the work done that you really want to do. So big business has been doing this for quite some time. So take a lesson from them and delegate. It's easier now than ever, especially if it's something that you don't need to be in person for, or some task or paperwork or brochures or something that need to be created that you can ship off to someone to do. There's websites such as Upwork.com, Fiverr, where you've got these folks in other countries where it's much more economically favorable for us to pay them. They get a wonderful wage and we get a deal in the process and save time and money. Time management skill number 9 is to automate scheduling. Ali points out that there is a app out there called Calendly that helps you automate your scheduling. And particularly what he's talking about here is if you've got to schedule meetings with folks, even friends, this thing comes in handy, because Ali indicates that a lot of time is wasted with trying to schedule time with multiple individuals. You're sharing emails back and forth, text messages, trying to coordinate it all. What this thing does is basically you send out an automated email to your folks saying, these are the times that I have available, pick a time. So it cuts through the mustard real quick. And again, I know it sounds a little bit clinical, but use it for friends as well, because look, we all know we're there, right? We want to have friends, we want to spend time with our friends, but everybody says, hey, let's get together, give me a call, and then it never happens, right? Start making it happen. Harvard did a study a while back, it's like the longest study, and social connectedness was one of the things that led to longevity. So don't become a hermit. Don't get overly focused on your work. Remember that. Try to do that life work balance, although that I think that's fictitious, but you have to continue to have relationships with friends and make that a priority as well. Automating your schedule can help you do that. Again, at first it's probably going to feel weird. Your friends might even be like, what the is this? But Ali says it works and he loves it. And lastly, time management number 10 is to choose to be satisfied or choose to be happy. At the end of the day, we just have to say we've done the best that we can. Remember to become comfortable with the imperfect and equate imperfection with perfection. There is no such thing as perfection. Stop being paralyzed by the perfection and move on. At the end of the day, we can choose to be happy and satisfied, or we can choose to focus on the negativity and focus on what we didn't get done. Ali's point is to choose the satisfaction, choose the happiness. There's a lot of people out there that have indicated this. There's hundreds of quotes on this. Walt Disney has had quotes about happiness being a choice. But the one I found that I really like is by Valerie Bertinelli. And, you know, she was a star one day at a time. So you gotta go with her expertise on this, right? So she says, happiness is a choice. You can choose to be happy. There is going to be stress in life, but it's your choice whether you let it affect you or not. And that is very true. In most cases, happiness is a choice. So make that choice. Well, that's it for today, folks. I really hope that you found it interesting and helpful. My overall review here of Gabby's Dollhouse is I was pleasantly surprised. I really didn't think much of it at first. I took my daughter and I was like, but actually once I started watching it, I was like, hey, this is actually pretty cool, and there's some substance to this. I thought that Kristen Wiig did an excellent job. They did an excellent job with her makeup. She looks beautiful. And seeing her in a serious role, a more serious role, because you're typically used to seeing her in these comedy roles, it was very interesting to see her pull off a more serious role and how well she did at that. So again, check this movie out. I would give it at least an 82% as Rotten Tomatoes did. And we will see you soon with the next movie review. Be well.